Are constant distractions keeping you from getting real work done? You're not alone. For consultants, distractions can cost time and money and peace of mind. But what if I told you there's a way to crush distractions once and for all? Stick with me and I'll show you how. Hi, I'm Chad Carter, and after 28 years in tech and consulting, I've seen firsthand how distractions can destroy productivity. But the good news is you don't have to let distractions run your day. In this video, I'm going to show you practical steps to identify and eliminate distractions that are holding you back, so you can reclaim your focus and get more done. First, let's talk about where distractions actually come from. You need to be able to identify the main sources, and if you can't identify what's pulling your focus away, you won't be able to stop it. Distractions come in many forms, so let's break them down. Number one, let's talk about digital distractions. So years ago, I worked for a company where email was treated like instant messaging. People expected real-time responses, and I got caught up in it. My email became my to-do list, and I constantly get distracted by the next urgent message. Before I knew it, I wasn't getting any real work done during the day, which meant I had to stay up late to complete my software development projects, my creator work. It wasn't until years later that I learned to set clear boundaries, checking emails only at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. And by doing this, I not only managed expectations, but also reclaimed uninterrupted time to focus on deep work. So if you want to dive deeper into how to protect your creator time, you can check out my video on the difference between creator and conductor. This small shift transformed my productivity. Now let's talk about physical distractions. So I've been working from home for 24 years, starting in a small ranch-style house where I set up my office. Later, after moving and having kids, I set up my office downstairs. There's no doors, but I found ways to minimize interruptions. During the day, I'm generally not disturbed unless there's something that truly needs my attention. One of the simple tricks I use is actually wearing earbuds. Not always with music, but just to block out ambient noise like fans. Now, a friend of mine took things a step further, and he actually built out what he calls the shed quarters. He did this in his backyard, and this is where he actually goes to work every single day. Now, even J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter novels, she would actually seek out quiet spaces to write, avoiding the distractions of her busy life. So whether it's finding a quiet nook, using earbuds to block out sound, minimizing physical distractions, the key is to stay focused. Set up your environment to stay focused. Besides digital distractions and physical distractions, you also have mental distractions. Okay? So my wife and I, we've had many conversations around multitasking. I say it's impossible to focus on two meaningful things at the same time. She disagrees. But to clarify what I mean, you can't actually think about two things at once. Sure, our brains are efficient. Once we've done something repeatedly, it becomes second nature. For example, I can drive to my daughter's volleyball game while listening to an audiobook. My focus is on the book. I'm listening to the concepts in the book. My driving becomes almost automatic. Well, that is until something unexpected happens, like a car pulling out in front of me. So now I got to watch out for this maniac and not able to focus on the words that were being spit out to me through the audio. But once that crisis is averted, I can then go back to listening to my audiobook. But usually I have to rewind the audiobook to a certain spot, 30 seconds, a minute, or whatever, because my focus shifted from what I was listening to the immediate situation in front of me. So yes, we can technically do more than one thing at one time, but we cannot think about more than one thing at one time. Now, besides identifying ways that we can be distracted, we need to actually design a workspace that matches our flow. Now, a lot of people believe you actually need a tidy place to work, like a tidy desk equals focused, but that's not true for everyone. So let's dive into how you can create a space that helps you focus based off your own work style. I like to think of this as embracing your natural work style. Again, some people, they think that a clean desk means you'll be more focused. But for me, I work best in what I'll call organized chaos. It's kind of like Einstein said. He said, if a cluttered desk, it's not verbatim here, but if a cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind, then what's an empty desk a sign of, right? Now, that being said, if my desk gets too cluttered and it starts to distract me, then I'll take some time and tidy up. But I've stopped trying to keep everything tidy all the time. I only clean it when it's actually getting in the way of my productivity. So don't worry if your desk is cluttered, as long as it's working for you. Now, Steve Jobs, he was known for his intense focus. And one of his strategies was creating a workspace that was free of distractions. He'd go on long walks to think deeply. and he kept his office space minimalistic, focusing on the essentials. It's about setting boundaries, not just for the clutter around you, but also for the people who might interrupt your focus. Make sure your workspace, however it looks, allows you to work without interruptions. Find what energizes you. Like Elon Musk, he surrounds himself with models of SpaceX rockets and Tesla prototypes as a reminder of his goals. And these visual cues keep him focused and motivated. So surround yourself with things that energize you, whether it's a cluttered desk full of projects or visual reminders of what you're working toward. Find what inspires you and keep that energy flowing. Now, my last point here is actually around training your mind to stay focused. What does that mean? Training your mind to stay focused. Well, a good workspace helps, but actually keeping focus is something you're going to practice daily. Thinking harder requires getting into a flow state where you focus deeply on the task in front of you. The key is to figure out the next step. And if that's not clear, work backward from what you do know. Take notes as you go. And if nothing comes to mind, start writing anything that's in your mind, even if it's unrelated. That process will help bring your focus actually back to the task at hand. If you struggle to focus on big picture tasks for long periods, this next tip is going to help you. You need to break tasks down into intervals. I used to use the Pomodoro Technique frequently. I started with 50 minutes of focused work with a 10-minute break, and over time I increased it to 100 minutes of work with a 20-minute break, and then sometimes I'd even push it to 150 minutes worth of work, with a 20-30-minute break. But the key is to start where you are. If focusing for 10 minutes is tough, we'll start with 7 minutes or even 5 minutes. Just spending a few minutes of focus within like a 3-minute break, over time you'll build up longer and longer sessions and you'll be able to handle more focused work. Now there's all kinds of Pomodoro timers out there, so grab one that works for you and run with it. Now the last thing I'll talk about is actually rewarding yourself after you've done a session of hard focus. Now I don't play video games that much anymore, but it used to be after a long session of focus, I would actually take a break and play some Forza. I'd do a couple races, or I'd play Call of Duty and do a couple matches of Call of Duty. These days I tend to go on YouTube and watch videos that I'm interested in. But here's the key. I actually use what I call the reverse Pomodoro technique for this. So just like I was talking about using the Pomodoro technique for focusing on doing the task, I use this reverse Pomodoro technique during my reward time or my relaxation or my break time. Then I just make sure the timer goes off when I'm done with my break. So if I set myself to have a 20-minute break or a 30-minute break, whatever the number is, I make sure the time goes off because it's too easy to fall into the just one more game or just one more video trap. So at some point, the actual completion of the task becomes its own reward, and you won't actually even need external rewards like playing a game or watching a video to keep you motivated. The sooner you can do that, the better off you'll be. But it's very difficult to go there from day one. Okay, so hopefully these practical tips will help you progress from being able to focus little bits at a time to able to focus for hours at a time. Now you have the tools you need to eliminate distractions. It's time to take your productivity to even the next level. Check out my video here on why focusing on inputs is key to long-term success. Learn how shifting your focus can set you up for long-term achievement.